This was considered an issue to some because the Borgia family was, in essence, the original Italian mafia. The Vatican was ruled by a crime boss. History tells us he fathered at least 9 children and frequently hosted kinky parties that even people today would be shocked to see. But the most disturbing thing the Pope did was allegedly engage in a highly inappropriate relationship with his own daughter, Lucretia.
Welcome back to the channel, or welcome to my channel. My name is Utikas if you're new, and yeah, without wasting any time, let's get to the video.
Number 5. Queen Fredegund. Queen Fredegund was the royal consort of Chilperic I, who was the Frankish king of Soissons in the 6th century. She started her life out with very little power, but quickly climbed the political ranks thanks to befriending King Chilperic. She started as his first wife's servant, but managed to seduce the king and persuade him to divorce his wife and send her into isolation at a convent. Fredegund literally boosted herself from a servant to a queen consort while having the original queen banished. But her dreams fell apart fairly quickly when the king got bored and married somebody else. Within the same year, the new queen was discovered strangled. It's believed Fredegund either did the strangling herself or ordered someone else to do it. Whatever the case, she was the next to be queen. In 584, Chilperic I died. Fredegund was left in control of the kingdom. She was an extremely effective ruler. When the Franks went to war with Burgundy, she took on the role of commander and led the armies herself. But she was also fairly evil. She was responsible for multiple assassination plots on almost everyone. She's been described as a queen obsessed with assassination. She hunted clergy, political figures, and even King Guntram of Burgundy. She was so murderous that at one point Fredegund took up residence in the Notre Dame Cathedral because it was considered a sanctuary where she herself couldn't be assassinated. Number 4.
Yeah, similar to a lot of rulers back then, you had to be ruthless. Or, mostly it was because of paranoia, and you'd never know who wanted to take your place, similar to what you did before. So yeah, I could see them being severely paranoid. But yeah, I don't think there's been a king or a ruler even to date who hasn't killed his way to where they are today. Maybe not today, but I'm talking about recent history. So yeah.
Cambyses II. Cambyses II was not quite as revered as Cambyses I, also known as Cyrus the Great. Cambyses II was Cyrus the Great's son and a man of infinite cruelty. He began to co-rule the Persians alongside his father in the year 530 BC, but after his father died during an expedition against the Masagetai, Cambyses II was left in control of the entire kingdom. He was the only ruler of the Achaemenid Empire, which his father had elevated from a vague tribe to a world power. Cambyses II began his conquests immediately. He fought wars in North Africa, conquered Egypt, defeated Pharaoh Psamtik III, and died a massive failure. While he was busy conquering foreign lands, Persia was thrown into rebellion. There was chaos at home, and Cambyses was forced to give up his newly acquired territory to go back and deal with it. But as he was on his way to Persia in the spring of 522 BC, he got gangrene from a small wound on his thigh and died. It was an embarrassing way to go. He was on the throne for less than 10 years. But while he was ruler of Persia, he exercised massive cruelty. For example, there was a Persian judge named Sesamnes who got caught taking a bribe. King Cambyses II decided that to make an example of the corrupt judge, he would flay him alive. The judge was tied to a table, and then a team of expert flayers peeled him like a potato, while Cambyses stood by and watched. Then Sesamnes' flesh was turned into leather, and Cambyses had him sewn into a chair. Number 3.
Yeah, I think that's the worst ruler we've met so far. Imagine being flayed alive. Like I knew that that happened back then, but damn, if you don't know where that is, it's when your skin is torn apart from your body whilst you being still alive. So yeah, one of the worst ways to go. So yeah.
The heretic pharaoh of the New Kingdom. Akhenaten was one of the worst pharaohs in Egyptian history. He ruled from between 1379 and 1336 BC and tried to fundamentally change Egyptian religion. He had the wild idea to bring monotheism into the country, which is the practice of worshipping only a single god. He proclaimed that no longer would the old gods of Egypt be worshipped, but only one, Aten. This may not have been so bad if Akhenaten wouldn't have gone overboard with it. He was obsessed with building as many temples as possible in dedication to Aten. He was so crazy that he announced the construction of a new capital far away from the then current capitals at Thebes and Memphis. He had an entirely new city built in the desert called Amarna and forced at least 20,000 people to move there. But because the city wasn't stable and didn't have access to ample food, death and disease quickly spread through its streets. 2,000 years of tradition was flushed down the toilet by the pharaoh's new religion, and the people were angry. He had the temples of the gods Amun, Mut, and Khonsu dismantled. He killed the priests, and he ordered all references to the gods Amun and Mut erased from Egyptian history. After 17 years of chaos, Akhenaten died. His successor was Nefertiti, who ruled as consort until his son Tutankhamun could take the throne in 1334 BC. Immediately after the deranged pharaoh was gone, Nefertiti started putting things back to the way they used to be. All the silly temples he built were disassembled, and the city of Amarna was abandoned and left a graveyard. Number 2.
Yeah. No idea why he could, why he wanted to do that, but there is no way of finding out. Maybe he wanted to like be different from all the other pharaohs who came before him. I think a lot of them were obsessed with that, trying to be immortal in a way, to be remembered. But I think it did work, but not in the way I thought. I think he believed it was going to be. I mean, what was he thinking was going to happen? Maybe it was just really dumb or crazy, as mentioned in the video. But you never know why he did what he did. So yeah, let's continue watching and see if there are more crazy leaders like him.
Pope Alexander VI. Pope Alexander VI is often considered the worst pope in history. The only reason he got the position in the first place was because he bribed enough cardinals that they let him in. The church was so corrupt in the 15th century that anyone with enough money could do pretty much anything. Plus, Alexander was born into the extremely wealthy and influential Borgia family in 1431. Throughout his career as the ruler of the Papal States, which started in 1492, every move he made was to better secure his family's future. He positioned his own family members in prominent places in European royal houses. This was considered an issue to some because the Borgia family was, in essence, the original Italian mafia. The Vatican was ruled by a crime boss. When we look at what Pope Alexander VI did during his reign, we can clearly see he didn't care much about the word of God. He was conniving, political, and promiscuous. History tells us he fathered at least 9 children and frequently hosted kinky parties that even people today would be shocked to see. But the most disturbing thing the Pope did was allegedly engage in a highly inappropriate relationship with his own daughter, Lucretia. Looking back at all the terrible deeds Alexander did, it's pretty easy to see why people didn't have much trust in the Vatican during the Middle Ages. Number 1.
Never knew that, but I knew the Roman Catholic Church used to be very corrupt, or maybe still is. Don't have enough information, but whatever happened. But yeah, I think he was the worst of them all. So yeah, especially the one he was had relations with his daughter. I don't know if his daughter, if it was his daughter or sister, but it's still bad. So yeah, I could see why he was the worst of the worst.
Hated Emperor Elagabalus. Elagabalus was one of the most hated emperors in Roman history. He was born at the beginning of the 3rd century AD and was about as terrible at the job as Nero or Caligula. In his youth, Elagabalus served as the high priest of the sun god Elagabal in Syria. His family had been high priests for centuries. His mother happened to be in a good position with the Severan dynasty, which had ruled Rome since 193 AD, and this was how Elagabalus was able to get into politics. Following the death of Emperor Macrinus, Elagabalus was positioned to take the throne, but he had been a high priest for far too long in a foreign land. Syria was technically part of Rome, but it was considered barbaric to the people who lived within the city of Rome itself. The new emperor refused to wear Roman clothing, he paraded around in his traditional garb, and he continued practicing his priestly duties. That included worshipping a god his subjects had never heard of. There are some accounts that say he practiced human sacrifice, which the Romans found disgusting. But that wasn't all Elagabalus was doing. He was lewd, he had multiple romantic partners from both sexes. He was notorious for violating the chastity of noble women and then tossing them aside. His lascivious behavior continued until the year 222 AD. That was when the Praetorian Guard grew so sick of him that they removed the emperor themselves. Which of these awful rulers do you think was the absolute worst? Let me know your thoughts in the comments and remember to hit subscribe.
Yeah, that was a fun video about history, and yeah, most of the things mentioned I had no idea happened, but I think the worst one was the one about flaring. I think that's the word. Yeah, that was a bad way to go, but I don't think that any of these rulers were better or better than the others. They were all bad, but similar to a lot of rulers back then and even today. So yeah, interesting video. Thank you for watching. Check out Origins Explained for more, and subscribe to their channel. It's fun. Anyway, thank you for watching again, and see you amazing people in the next video.